They called me the invisible child while worshipping my golden sister, so I built my own empire and watched their perfect world crumble. My name is Evelyn, but in my family, I was never really a name. I was the other one, a shadow behind my older sister, Charlotte, the golden child. From as early as I could remember, Charlotte could do no wrong. Straight A's, head cheerleader, and effortlessly charming. Meanwhile, I existed in the background, always either too much or not enough. Why can't you be more like Charlotte? That was the mantra of my childhood. My parents doted on her like she hung the stars in the sky. For me? A begrudging glance if I aced a test or an irritated sigh if I asked for help. Charlotte wasn't cruel, though. Not outright. She was oblivious, too wrapped up in the glittering world our parents had paved for her. I remember once, on my 12th birthday, she waltzed into the kitchen while I was waiting for a cake that never came. Without missing a beat, she handed me a flyer for her next dance recital. "They're coming, right?" she asked. "They?" I replied, hope flickering for a moment. "Mom and Dad," she said, frowning like I was slow. "Oh, wait, you didn't think they'd miss it, did you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The empty seat at my own birthday dinner was answer enough. The neglect stung, but I learned to channel it. While Charlotte basked in attention, I found solace in books, in quiet resilience. I started working out in secret, not to impress anyone, but to prove to myself that I could be strong, physically and mentally. By the time I hit high school, I had mastered the art of invisibility. My parents didn't notice when I got a part-time job or when I started saving every penny. They didn't ask why I was always at the library or why I refused to attend Charlotte's endless parades of accomplishments. One day, I overheard my parents discussing college funds. They'd emptied nearly everything for Charlotte's dream school, leaving little to nothing for me. The final straw? My mother's casual remark, "Evelyn doesn't need much. She's not like Charlotte." That night, I made a vow. If they wanted to ignore me, they'd regret it. I wouldn't just fade into obscurity. I'd build a life so remarkable that their neglect would be the punchline of their failures. My chance came when Charlotte made a grave mistake, one that would tip the scales in my favor. Her perfect world started crumbling when she plagiarized an essay in her final year of high school. It wasn't a one-off thing, she'd been cheating for years, coasting on charm and stolen work. I found the proof in her room, a folder of essays downloaded from obscure websites. She was careless, assuming no one would dare snoop on the golden child. But I wasn't just anyone. I was the shadow, and shadows see everything. When the college admissions office called to verify one of her essays, I tipped them off anonymously. Charlotte's acceptance was rescinded, and her perfect future unraveled. The fallout was glorious. For once, my parents couldn't deny the cracks in their golden idol. The aftermath of Charlotte's fall was chaos. My parents, so used to singing her praises, scrambled to salvage her reputation. They begged, bribed, and pleaded with the college to reconsider, but the damage was done. Charlotte's humiliation was plastered across the local news, local star student caught cheating. For once, they had no time to notice me. And for once, I liked it that way. I kept my head down and stuck to my plan. My part-time job turned into a full-time hustle, tutoring and freelancing on the side. By the time I graduated high school, I had enough saved to pay for community college. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, earned without handouts or stolen accolades. I worked tirelessly, balancing a heavy course load with multiple jobs. While my parents continued to coddle Charlotte through her rough patch, I built a network, learned new skills, and began plotting my escape from the family that never wanted me. 2 years later, I transferred to a prestigious university on a full scholarship. I didn't tell my parents. They wouldn't have cared anyway. Charlotte, meanwhile, was still living at home, aimless and bitter. Her once bright future now a shadow of what it was supposed to be. I didn't want revenge anymore, not in the way I used to. I didn't need it. My success, my independence, was revenge enough. But then, fate handed me one last opportunity to even the score. It was during a holiday visit home, something I only endured out of obligation. My father was ranting about his failing business, blaming everything from the economy to his employees. But I knew the truth, his shady accounting practices had finally caught up to him. "Evelyn," he barked, as though I hadn't been invisible for most of my life, "you're good with computers, right? Fix this for me." I smiled. "Of course, Dad. Anything for you." Over the next few weeks, I dug into his accounts under the guise of helping. What I found was worse than I imagined: years of tax fraud and embezzlement. Quietly, I gathered evidence, documenting everything. I didn't report him immediately. No, I waited. I wanted them to feel the weight of their choices. When the IRS finally came knocking, my parents were blindsided. Their world collapsed as their assets were seized and their reputation destroyed. Charlotte, predictably, tried to spin the narrative. "We're victims," she cried on social media, but no one believed her. The golden child had lost her shine, and the world loved to watch her fall. As for me, I disappeared from their lives. I moved to a new city, started my own business, and thrived. Every success was a reminder of what they'd ignored, of what they had let slip through their fingers. Years later, I received a letter from Charlotte. It was a pitiful apology, dripping with self-pity and regret. She begged me to reconnect, claiming she'd changed. I read it once, then burned it. I didn't need her validation or their acknowledgement. I'd built a life on my terms, proving that even a shadow could eclipse the sun. Now, when people ask about my family, I smile and say, I don't have one. And it's true. I have something better, a life free from their neglect and a strength they could never break.